Hello, dear perceptive souls. This is Bevan, and I am an intuitive business mentor for sensitive, empathic, intuitive entrepreneurs. Maybe you're a healer, a yogi, someone who brings forward your amazing gifts with sound healing, with somatic movement, whatever that may be. Or you might be a coach, or you might be a spiritual teacher. Regardless, welcome to my channel. And I am also the co-founder of 1millionempaths.com, which is an online sanctuary for those with deep thinking, huge hearts who care deeply about our world and are out there serving and spreading your light. So I invite you to connect with my work in the description box below. You can also see all of the card decks and everything that I use for these readings. And I really wanted to dive into something that is near and dear to my heart, which is what messages do entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, just wild spirited souls who felt like they wanted to take the path less traveled, leave that corporate job and go off and really express what is inside of you. What's there for you in this time? You know, we face a lot of uncertainty right now, and perhaps all of the plans that you've made for 2020, whether you had a business plan all outlined like I did, which said, okay, these are the things I'm going to do each quarter, and here's how I think all of the revenue will come in, and here's how I'll serve. And then everything changed in our entire world. And here we are working to put into practice all of those spiritual self-care, healing practices that we teach to others. We're using those on ourselves right now. And I hope that you are getting your rest and you are going within and you're doing that work. So let's talk about what comes next. What kind of skill sets are needed in order to weather the changes in our larger world, in our financial system, in our business system right now? And what might that start to look like for you going forward? So I felt really compelled to get on, and I started my business 4 years ago. Love being an entrepreneur. It's the best thing I ever did. Working from home is the bomb. Give me a high five if you know what I'm talking about. And I never want to go back. I might collaborate with others and maybe like contract with others, but I just love so much having what I call my own sandbox, my own creative, spiritual play, so to speak. So what I do is I go within and I gather this information, this intuitive download within meditation, or perhaps, as you know, this comes up in the dream state, or when I first wake up in the morning and I'm just in that in-between space between dreaming and consciousness. And I ask what kinds of messages want to flow through me. And what came out today is this revealing of our true nature. So you may think, oh, wow, I've been on this path to reveal who I am for so long now. I've been working and working and working on it. And so have I. So I completely get you. And yet it is a continuous unfolding. And when we have these really deep collective energy circumstances and these individual challenges and obstacles to overcome, we get an opportunity to dive even deeper into our core essence. And so let's begin. Let's dive in and see what the cards have to say for you and have to say for me. So we're in this together, my brothers and sisters who are out there watching. And let's begin with this card. These are the soul cards by Deborah Koff Chapman, beautiful artist and amazing, inspiring soul. And, you know, I love this imagery. I love the imagery of the snake. I love the imagery of the person going within. You see all of this activation at the third eye and the crown. And those of us who are in this work, who are serving others, who are out there lending our gifts, doing this healing work, doing this work and helping people dive in and heal these shadow parts of themselves. You know, this also comes up for us as well. And, you know, for many, many years, as you probably know, the snake has been sort of vilified, if you will. as an evil symbol. You know, we have this in some of the more traditional religious, and many people are really afraid of snakes. But I actually grew up in a part of the country here in the United States where snakes were very common. And so I learned how to work with them and navigate around them. And most of the time, they don't actually bother you. They just want to be left alone. And what I love about snakes from a spiritual perspective is they are very, very grounded, right? Literally a being with no legs, their entire body, their entire physical vessel stretched out on the ground, deeply rooted into the earth. They camouflage themselves within trees and branches and leaves and those kinds of things. And so they know how to flow and how to adapt. But this particular snake has risen up. And so we get into this Kundalini rising, right? You see that it has this complete rising from root all the way up to crown. And this is the process that those of us who have been doing this work and had our awakening some years ago are actually experiencing now. We're really experiencing that snake energy coming up from the base of our spine and coiling and uncoiling itself and inviting us now to not only go within, to not only study one more thing, to read one more thing, to think, am I ready to be doing this work? Am I ready to be out there serving others? But to really embody that and to know that it's time now to shed that old skin, even more than we ever have. So I've been peeling and scratching and pulling that old skin off of me for some time. And now it's like, when we start to expand, when we expand our energy field, when we expand our capacity to hold space. I mean, I'll tell you, nothing like this global change, except for maybe 9/11, really taught me about how to hold space. And this time I've been very, very conscious of that. You know, what can I do and how do I bring in this collective energy and how do I hold space for that client, whether it's on a Zoom call or doing distance healing or however it is that you serve, or tarot readings or astrology readings. You know, how do we bring all of this coiled energy into play? And it's an invitation, right? It's an invitation for you to deepen your work on a personal level, as well as your work with those that you serve. And the next card is completion, you know, and there's been a lot of grief when we might realize the way that I've been giving may no longer be the way that I continue to serve. And I've gone through this. I'm like, what is next for me, right? What is here? What does it feel like? Anything I had a month ago, anything I had planned, anything I had on my website is no longer relevant anymore. And there's this in-between space where we're just like not sure what the next thing is, but here we are in this state of completion. And the completion, I believe, on a higher level and a larger scale is really all of this work, all of this meditating and praying and manifesting and holding space for this great spiritual awakening for our world. And I say, well, this is it. You know, I mean, at no other time in human history have more people awakened across our planet and started to say, why am I here? What am I doing? Do I want to go back to that 9-to-5 job after this is all done? I mean, I kind of like being with my children. I like having this time. I like working from home. And everyone is going through this cycle of completion. Some of us are dealing with it a little bit better, and some people you can see are dealing with it and they're very resistant and they just wanted to get back to normal as quickly as they can. But we will never, ever be the same as individuals, as communities, as a global society. So you as an entrepreneur are going through this sense of completion, whether you are brand new to entrepreneurship or you've been doing your business for years. Every single one of us is questioning now, what's next for me? You know, for some reason, after being a blogger for the last 5 years, writing, you know, hundreds and hundreds of posts and primarily doing all of my messaging through writing, I suddenly felt this compulsion to get on YouTube and to begin really building my channel and really speaking about this. and reaching out and sharing what I've learned on my own entrepreneurial journey with others, with other leaders who want to step forward. And this is a big change for me. This is a big change for me. You know, we have these voices inside of ourselves that say, well, who am I to do this next thing, right? And this is that sort of uncomfortable place when we reach completion, but we're not sure what the replacement is. And in particular, for all of us, it brings up these root chakra fears about, you know, okay, if the ways that I thought I was going to support myself, my family, nourish myself financially and spiritually and mentally and emotionally is no longer there, you know, what do we do with that now? How does the world look? You know, how do I navigate that? And so what's the invitation is to take on the eagle, right? To become the eagle. Before we can decide what's next, we need to lift up and get into that higher perspective. And for anyone who's been out there doing these spiritual practices, you know how this looks, right? So we need to lift ourselves, uncoil our snake up into the crown and lift up and take a broader perspective. We need to look out there into the collective and say, what's happening right now? What trends do I see? What patterns? Where has in human history this happened before? What's needed right now? How do all of the skills that I've ever honed, whether it's been in my business or before that when I worked for someone else, or even when I was a child and I, you know, like for example, I worked on a family farm, you know, what skill sets do I have that are needed now in our world? How can I serve? How can I give? And how can I receive? How do we do that nourishment, right? Because when the eagle flies up, it's also looking to nourish itself. It's not only taking the lay of the land, it's not only noticing where the river winds itself and snakes itself around, but it's also looking for, you know, a tasty lunch. It's also looking to be nourished, because lifting up and moving your wings in that way and soaring requires the air and the wind to hold you, and it requires for all of the resources to show up, right? For all the resources to show up. And the 16 becomes a 7 in numerology, which is all about this change and this growth and this looking forward to what's next. And we have to get the eagle eye before we're ready to take action. I just love this next card that came up, and I know you will too. And here it is, my friends. The magic card, right? This is where we understand. We have noticed this so many times. We have watched as these intuitive messages come in in so many ways, whether it's a song lyric or you know, someone mentioning this particular book or a particular phrase 3 or 4 times in the same day, or you just have a gut feeling, or you're like, I need to call this person or email this person. I don't know why, but I need to reach out and see what's there for them. And this is our ability to manifest, right? To know, to trust in our inner power and our ability to make all these intuitive connections. This is how I have planned my business. So I said, oh, I have this whole list of things, but when I'm writing it out, it's only for the purposes of is putting that potential out there. I'm just trying to find the words to describe it. So I say, okay, well, here are some of the potential avenues. And then what I do, I'm like, okay, I'm going to toss out an email to this person and say, hey, would you like to get on a call and see what kind of synergy we have together? Or I'll go to this organization, or I'll invite, you know, I'll share some of my writing with a particular platform and say, I'd love to write for you. You know, here's a sample. What do you think? And then I just put it out there and I release attachment to the outcome, right? And whatever starts to come back, whatever starts to flow is what's right for me. There are things that I would like to be right for me, and sometimes they are. And then there are things that I would like to be right for me, and sometimes it's just like, no, it just keeps getting blocked over and over and over. And so many times in the past, I would just keep pursuing that and I keep trying to push. But this is the divine feminine, right? This is the receiving. This is embodying that magical synchronicity part of ourselves. We can call in all of the resources that we need because we took time to lift up like the eagle and look with our sharp perception at all the patterns. And we need each other. We need each other because we co-create synchronicity. It's not like I'm just out there going, hey, I want synchronicity to show up. It doesn't matter whether it's a spirit animal coming up, like today, the raccoon came to visit me again. Okay, so he and I, or she and I, are co-creating that synchronicity. That raccoon is coming and intersecting with me, and they have characteristics and I have characteristics, and we're learning from each other, and we're in this dance, right? And it's the same way whether we're collaborating with others. And this is really where our world is going. It's less towards I'm doing everything I'm doing for my individual well-being and to hell with everyone else, right? We've certainly had enough of that in our world. And our world is now really about this collective, this cooperative, this collaborative energy, right? And when we get into that space where we see the world as speaking to us, when we see everything in that magical place, here comes the sun. Here comes the sun, da, 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 da. Right? One of my favorite songs of all time. And this person is just going, yes, I allow this light to just beam in and shine in. I receive everything I need, all the nutrients that I need for my body. I receive, right? I receive. The sun energy is our divine masculine, right? So we have the divine feminine, and we have the divine masculine, and they're working in conjunction with each other. So the divine feminine is saying, okay, I'm attracting in those things that I need, and I'm listening to my knowing, and I'm moving myself up from that root chakra and out of the fear place into this higher perspective. And then when I do that and I do take action, it's inspired action. It's action where there's a light shine right on top of it. Like, you know how this is when you've ever had an opportunity and all of a sudden it's like, ooh, it's like a spotlight, right? Coming right down on you. This is what's next for your work in the world. Whatever you want to call it. If you want to call it business, if you want to call it service, if you want to call it your ministry, if you want to call it your sacred offering, this is next, right? This is when we begin to understand how to marry that sacred masculine, that sacred feminine within us. And then everything begins to align, right? Here you are, your beautiful golden soul just glowing out, focused, aligned. And here's all of the different energies, synchronicities, resources, people, opportunities. And you can see it all. It's all very, very well defined, right? And it's the spiral energy, right? It's going to the inside and coming back out to the outside, and to the inside and to the outside. And so everything begins to align. Whereas in the beginning, we weren't sure. We have this Kundalini rising. We have no idea. Everything around here is all nebulous. We're like, okay, I know I'm tuned in and I'm doing my work and I'm nurturing myself and I'm doing my self-care right now. And I'm reaching out to people and I'm being this positive light and this energies are rising, but I have no idea what the next thing looks like. And then when we take that higher perspective, when we begin to marry the divine masculine and feminine, the part of us that receives and the part of us that gives, and we get that into balance, we have this very, very strong structure for not only your business, but what our entire society looks like. This is a reorganization process, and we are playing an important role, each of us, is playing an important role. It's almost like these are all of the planetary grid, the planetary web of light workers, and everyone's playing their own individual role, their own individual part, but together we're weaving this beautiful, beautiful connected tapestry. And here's our Earth right here, right? Yeah. And our final card to wrap up this reading is Amurata, the sage of higher knowledge, right? I love the section over here where we have the cycles, the cycles of the moon. And many of you are probably really tuned into that. Perhaps you even direct your business ventures, your launches, whatever that is, according to when you are strongest and when you're most alive in that space. You see a lot of activation here at the heart. And of course, going up to that crown, just radiating that magic, that manifestation, that energy, tapping in within. And there's a lot of wisdom here. So this is a very different kind of entrepreneurial energy that is, it's very different than the way most businesses have run on our planet up to this point. So we have an opportunity to not only do the work that we feel so strongly called, that our soul is called to, but we have an opportunity to role model what this new way of doing and being is. This person is very aligned, very aligned. There is a unification of that divine masculine and that divine feminine, and the owl energy is looking straight out into the camera going, yes, I see you, and you will know what is right for you and when is the right time to act. So I want to take just a moment to share with you a little bit of the interpretation. And this is from the Earth Warriors Oracle, one of my favorite decks. It just connects me so deeply with my ancestor spirits. Intuition and instinct are two forms of intelligence, one arising from the heart and the other from the body. So intuition, many people believe, comes directly from the heart. This is the knowing. This is the knowing on the deepest spiritual level, at the soul level. And the instinct is often, down in that root sacral area, even the solar plexus area, from the wisdom of our body. These special forms of knowing are essential for living a wise and authentic life, one that is tuned in to the love and truth that flows through the universe. Intuition can help us to know without knowing how we know, showing us an accurate bird's eye view of a situation in a sudden flash of insight. So here we have the bird's eye. Instinct can give us a stark and honest gut feeling about the intentions of another person or the value of an opportunity, right? So, if your body is engaged and excited and vibrating in resonance with a particular opportunity or a person that you're going to partner with, or someone you're following or someone you want to mentor with, and when it's not, right? You're like, ugh, I just get the stomach ache, or I feel really, congested here in my throat, and you can just tell, right? You do not need to have a logical explanation to justify your intuitive and instinctive recognition of falsehood, deception, or other misleading uses of information. These two forms of intelligence are the ways of the sacred feminine knowing, right? So this is intuition and instinct. Are we listening to these parts of ourselves as we really reconstruct what our service is in the world? And then there's logic and intellect, which can also be gifts for humanity to use to great effect, provided that logic and intellect are not used to cut off from sacred feminine knowing. They can play a very helpful role in living a happy and fulfilling life. And we've seen in our collective society that the cutting off of the feminine knowing, the minimizing of that has happened for a really long time. And now we're seeing that rise. And it doesn't matter whether you're tuning in and you identify as male or female or non-binary or gender fluid. We all have these divine energies within us. Finding the correct information in this age, when there's abundance of information, with varying degrees of truth and helpfulness is an important skill to develop. We can do this with a combination of logic and intuition. Sometimes intuition and instinct will tell you that a piece of information that's accepted by others is not actually true for you. The sacred feminine intelligence recognizes truth and is able to guide you how to best use it for your noble goals. Make sure the information you obtain is most useful to your decision-making process. Amawata urges you to take care around simply accepting the opinions or point of view of others, even if that person has been a trusted guide or has many credentials. Sometimes your inner knowing shall encourage you to a different course of action, even if you have great respect for the person offering their opinion. The universe may have other plans for you. And this actually came up for me multiple times in my business. I've actually had multiple business mentors, and there always became a time when I realized I've learned everything that I can, or I've studied with different spiritual communities or organizations. And there was a time when I always received a knowing, it's time for me to listen to myself, or it's time for me to move on. There's something else that I need to know. And so if you are in this state right now on a personal level or on a professional level, the state of completion, look around in your life and say, what is it that is finished for me? What is it that I've learned everything I can? It doesn't mean you have to cut all that off and just be like, I'm done with you. We can do this in a conscious way. We can say, thank you so much. I appreciate everything that you've ever done for me. And this is how your guidance, your wisdom, this teaching really supported and nourished me. And I will take that forward and I will incorporate that into my life and into my teachings and pass that on. But now I know there's something else for me. And this is a part of becoming that really independent spirit, right? Where you believe in your own magic, where you tap in to your logic and your intellect, and you work these two together. And what happens is that we have this beautiful structure, which is both aligned and also flexible and adaptable, right? And it's time for you now, as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, as a creative, as a healer, as a writer, as a coach, as a therapist, however it is that you give, to really take a deep look at the work that you're doing and say, where is it that that's working well and it continues to flow and that message continues to resonate? And where is it that maybe it's time for me to expand myself, to actually step out and try something new, or move a little bit past where I think I currently am. Maybe I'm farther than I thought I was. And I hope that this message resonated with you. And I thank you so much for tuning in to this intuitive business development reading. I plan to do more of these on YouTube, so please like and subscribe if you'd like to get some additional tips and allow these archetypes to come in and to help guide us as we navigate this new world, this new threshold. I don't know about you, but I'm really excited about it. I think there's going to be a lot of opportunity, and particularly as people navigate all the changes in society, they will need loving, kind, compassionate, empathic, intuitive people like us to be there to hold and nurture them through this change. So thank you, my friends, for being a bright light all across our planet, wherever you're coming from. And I look forward to connecting with you soon. Namaste.